and salutations, and welcome to the Rant Squad. I am the Water Dog. This is
Jordan.
and this is
Bernard.
and we're out here in good old Southeast Texas, over here in my man cave, trying to stay warm as the winter blast is hitting us Texans.
That's right. Snow tonight.
That's what they're saying.
It's rare. It's miserable down here. The whole Southeast Texas shuts down. We just disappear. We go into hiding.
Yeah,
we all make chili and we
my job tried to run during like a Cat 4 hurricane. They kept trying to run.
Hurricanes,
They closed 2 days early for a winter storm.
Listen. We can survive the hurricanes down here, but the ice and the snow, no, we're done.
Ah, well. Well, we're going to talk about the divisional rounds here for a little bit, and then we're going to give you our game picks. So let's just kind of talk about, Clint, what game you want to talk about? What was the game that kind of really surprised you the most, or?
The game that surprised me the most, I'll say the only game I didn't pick right. I would say it's the Bills and the Ravens game. I thought Lamar came out and I thought he played well. Of course, the team as a whole, the 3 turnovers, and I know we'll get into that. That was the story of the weekend, or that's your headline of the weekend, is talking about the turnover battle. But Baltimore, I felt like they come in, they had a good idea of what to do. I thought they did a really good job of pretty much shutting down Allen in the passing game. I thought it was funny. If you look at Allen and Jalen Hurts' stats, they're almost identical this week. And I know a lot of people were kind of giving Hurts some trash, but I mean, Allen really didn't have that great of a day. It was James Cook running the ball, looked really good. And then the 3 turnovers. I mean, Mark Andrews has his 2nd fumble of his entire career. He had the crucial drop at the end of the game. It was purely, I look at that game and the difference was Baltimore made all the plays, but it was the mistakes. Josh Allen and the Bills, they played mistake-free football. They did not commit the costly turnover. They did not commit the costly mental error. The defense was a lot of bend not break. You had Rashad Bateman getting down to the 1, and they held him to a field goal. Derrick Henry really didn't get going to the second half. But I just give it to the Bills because they played mistake-free football. They played a Chiefs game. I felt like they were not the better team. They were not the better offense.
So that was that's a great statement. They played a Chiefs type of game.
They did.
Where you just understand the flow of the game, you understand what you got to do.
Absolutely.
But they ran the football well. I mean, even Davis ran the football well.
Yep.
Davis ran the football well. Cook ran the football well. Allen ran when he needed to.
Yep.
And they just simply controlled what they were doing on offense. And they just looked very methodical. And because of the weather, to avoid the mistakes, they were throwing the short pass. They specifically game planned.
Shakir was very, very involved in that short pass.
Right.
Yeah.
So they specifically was throwing the short pass. They did not try to make plays downfield. And then ironically, that's what Baltimore. They had a lot of big plays. There was a lot of big 10 to 20, 25-yard plays that Baltimore had, and they never punted. Baltimore never punted the football. Let me ask you this, because I'm going to ask you this. You ready? Here we go. You got 2 tries at 2 2-point conversions, and you never give the ball to Derrick Henry. Why?
I don't have a problem with the.
I think the play call
was right.
with Andrews was right. It just needs to be thrown in front of him.
Well, I mean, I thought the second one, but you had 2 chances. I mean, the second one, the Andrews play, I think was a very good play call. But even the first time, they still didn't throw to Derrick Henry.
You're right.
And I agree. But that ball has to be in front of Mark Andrews. I understand it touched both his hands. His body is going away from that ball. You can take 1,000 people.
I see what Kelly said.
1,000 people are going to drop
Kelly's
that
like
pass.
you got two shots that both you had 2 times. You had the beginning one when they did it and at the end of the game. Neither time they go to the big 1,900-yard, 16-touchdown running back.
The guy that that can do it.
Yep.
That's the reason you brought him in there. The reason you brought him in there was for those very occasions, and you don't utilize him. And I just as much as we sit there and we talk about Mike Tomlin, and that maybe he's spent his time in Pittsburgh, we got to start talking about Harbaugh and Baltimore.
That's what I said.
Because they look, man, they haven't been back to a Super Bowl in a long time.
12 years.
And they are losing and wasting time with Lamar Jackson. They are wasting it.
Yeah, because he doesn't have the 15-year. I don't think he has the 15-year career arc. I don't think we're going to see Lamar Jackson at 38, 39 years old playing this game. I think he's got an expiration date. I think it's about 35, in my opinion. Just with the way he plays, because he still does run the ball. Now, he does protect himself. He doesn't take big hits. But you're right. I mean, Lamar said it. He said, "We're seeing, we keep getting right there, and then they're not getting to the big game."
More teams beat themselves in playoff games. They lose the game, then they win the game. And it's when you were talking about when I was talking about turnovers. The teams that lost committed turnovers.
No, all but one.
You know.
Houston didn't commit turnover.
Yeah. But they missed.
The first. Hey, did y'all see?
Well, let's just jump to that Texas game.
Hold on, I have an interesting stat. Did y'all see this? In NFL playoff history, a team that has 0 turnovers, double outgained the opponent, and something else. They were all 49-0. Houston was the first team to ever lose. Yeah. With all these crazy stats about how they protected the ball and played more efficiently and played better.
The difference is the Chiefs know how to make winning plays. It's like, it's are you making the plays to win the game? There were some key catches that Kelsey had made to win the game. They had their kicker made the kick where the Texans kicker.
He missed an extra point and a field goal, and that hurts because that was what I was telling you at the when you come into the second half and you have that big 10-minute drive, and you were like, wow, this could be a momentum shift, and then he misses the kick, and it's a lot of just motion, just gone, all that momentum gone. Now I still think, like I said, it is what it is. You're always going to have calls. It's unfortunate. Speaking of, I tell you what, I've always been a player safe game, but if I'm a coach going against you, just knock him out. No, I'm serious, because you can't win, because if you
might as well follow through.
Yeah, if you slow up, he fakes inside and gets another 15 yards. And if you slow up, he still gets hit, but he slid, so now he's going to get picked. You might as well just get the contact in. And
you might as well get the 15-yard penalty.
Look like Cam. They always hit Cam. Just do it. You might as well.
So what do you think about the Texas game, Mr. Texas fan?
So at this point, I do disagree with my two colleagues about the Bills played a Chiefs game. Because I never remember seeing the Bills have 16 guys on the field at a time, which is what Kansas City had, which is 11 players and 5 refs on every play. Right? I don't know. Listen, McNair, I need you to send CJ to Broadway so he can act a little bit better, like Mahomes does.
Yeah.
Because for a guy who never really gets hit, but gets the flags, it's crazy. Then we got a guy with a banged up knee hobbling off the field.
He played his heart. I was proud and impressed. He played his heart out. I was really happy to see him.
How many times was he sacked in that game? 8?
Oh, yeah. I'd have to look it up.
He was sacked a lot.
Yeah, and he escaped many sacks too.
Yeah, but we kept saying that's their Achilles heel. If you want to say what's the Texans' biggest hit, they need an offensive line. They need.
Well, and what's crazy is we've spent money on the offensive line. We've spent draft picks on the offensive line. I think we need an offensive line coach.
When you go back and you watch that game, every time the Chiefs got, I'm going to call it gimme call on a penalty, right? They scored. It was a third down. Almost every time.
The thing is, the Chiefs, they don't let you. If you make a mistake, they're going to make you pay.
Yeah. But you're not making a mistake. That's the problem.
I know. I know. Hey, like Will Anderson said it best. It was us against everyone. D'Amico said it. It is what it is. It's unfortunate.
I digress because I don't want us to get fined.
Yeah,
for speaking illy of officiating.
Houston remains the only team to never make a conference championship. I'm sad, but I saw one thing I will say is I saw a team with strong willpower, and I feel like I saw the team that played these last 2 playoff games was a completely different team than it was at the end of the season. And I really, I feel like that's a real good positive. I mean, yeah, there's no moral victories in football, but it gets me a little bit more excited for next season.
Well, I mean, they've got it right in a lot of the key things. You've got, dynamic defensive players at the front, which is what you need. You've got playmakers in the secondary, which is what you need. You've got a quarterback that can play the game. He can move. And one of the what we're looking at right now, if you look at the 4 final teams in the playoffs, they're all quarterbacks who can move. The last, the last 2 pocket guys, Goff and Stafford, they're gone.
Yeah.
And so you've got a quarterback that can move. It's just the offensive line. I think if you don't spend your first 3-4 picks on offensive line and trade to maybe even bring a veteran in, I think you're just wasting Stroud's time because you have got to get an offensive line for this guy.
That's fair.
Yeah, got to get him. All righty, let's talk about your Commanders.
Oh, hey, I called it. What can I say? I'm happy. It was one of them games. I looked and I felt like Detroit. I agree with you. They played great against Minnesota, and you thought coaching was going to be okay, but at some point, some injuries have got to catch up, and injuries combined with just breaks going the Commanders' way. And to me, I don't know why. It just seems when I watch the Commanders, They are just a team that they are playing with nothing to lose. What they remind me of is the 2017 Philadelphia Eagles. When the Eagles lost Carson Wentz, their MVP candidate, they were the first ever #1 seed to open up at home and be underdogs against the Atlanta Falcons. And that team took the underdog mentality, said, man, it's us against the world. And that's what the Commanders are doing. Now, they're having to go on the road for it every week. They've done it twice, and they're going to have to do it again in Philly. Shock early? I think they might. Because Jalen Hurts is banged up, and Jaden Daniels is looking good. They don't have,
That was the difference in the game. Is the Detroit, defensive line just couldn't get to Daniels.
No, he was doing everything.
He could just move around the pocket, and he was making the right shots.
He's so fast.
And they couldn't cover. And
No.
they just McLaurin and
But his
Ertz
throws are on.
Yeah.
He's being accurate. He's being deliberate with the football.
You
And it seemed like golf. They tried to put golf made mistakes. You can't make mistakes in playoff football.
Right.
And then it was just by the time they were behind, you couldn't keep running the ball and you couldn't play Detroit football. And that was the problem.
Well, that was my team this year. It was my preseason pick to win it all, and looking good all the way up through this particular game. And I can see how the Lions are going to be disappointed because they're going to have to hire brand new coordinators.
Yep, they're looking
you're going to have to sit down and really kind of think about golf, because this is a game where now you've looked at it about 3 times this year, where he's thrown picks like this that you just cannot afford in these big games. Now, although he played great the week before, so it's just there's going to be some decision making. I don't think that this is a team that's not going to be competitive. They're going to still be very competitive. I still think they're going to make the playoffs, but I just don't know. Their window might be closed here with these 2 last playoff appearances.
So I think multiple things about kind of this Detroit game. One, I think Dan Campbell has to have a reflection in the sense of you got the 4th and 2 with 12 men on the field, and half their sideline is yelling, "We got 12 men on the field," and he doesn't call a timeout, which then leads to another touchdown, which it was only I think a 10-point game at that point. And then it goes to a 17. But what I was the most impressed about, because that's the game I watched, was Dan Quinn's ability to go, Campbell goes for it on 4th down, hold my beer, because I'm going to show you how it's done.
He did early because it was early in the game. They were down, I think 7-3, and he went for. And I'm with you. I was take the points. Like yeah, I get.
I didn't understand it either. I was like going, that's a lot of confidence to have, but at this particular point, and especially in a game that you are in and you would only be 1 point down, you take the point
against the #1 seed
on the road.
Yeah.
On the road, but they went for it.
And I think, hey, there's no secret. I like the Commanders. I've been picking them.
Yeah.
I think they could upset Philly with that mindset.
I don't disagree with you.
With that mindset, because what's going to happen is Sirianni, I'll do it. And if he misses one of them.
Well, they go for it for 4th and short with the tush push all the time.
Yeah, but do they have that right now with Hurts' injury? That's how hurt is he? He's a big question mark going in.
And I think this was something we were kind of talking about with the Chiefs, right? Jaden Daniels was taking hits during that game.
Yeah.
Where's his protection? Which I get it. They do the read option stuff, but they are constantly just hitting that guy.
That's the one danger with Daniels is just because of his slight frame. You got to be worried. You'll worry he's 1 hit away from being knocked out. But
he's trying to get a 15-yard flag on one of these hits. You know what I mean? If he puts a 1 in front of the 5, maybe we get it. Right? I don't know.
But he was amazing. I will say it. He was amazing. He was the reason they won the game. And
that and defense.
It's just Goff played a bad game. He picked one of the worst times to play a bad game. You just cannot turn the ball over.
Well, this year he had a few bad games, but his defense always bailed him out. The 5 picks against Houston.
Think about it, they still scored 31
I know.
points.
No, absolutely. That's what Kelly said.
So for as bad as that is,
Yes.
31 points.
And scored 31 points. And here's the thing: they were going down. He throws that interception in the end zone. If they were going to score, if he doesn't throw that interception in the end zone, once again the game's changed. But
it never felt like Detroit was out, because even after pick 6, Williams comes in and has the huge touchdown.
So it's just crazy.
Because that was a conversation this morning on a Raiders podcast was with Ben Johnson, which I'm going to digress on that one. Okay, can't wait for him to get fired in 2 years from Chicago. But the thing was, his offensive play calling, all the turnovers. But they still put up 31 points with all the
No, offense is not
to
the
me.
His play calling is not
Yes,
the reason
the
they
play
lost the
calling
game.
was not bad.
No.
It was just they met up against someone who was playing the gambler by Kenny Rogers on the way there.
You got that,
was
and
going with it.
And then the defensive injuries finally caught up to the Lions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the game I said would be the closest to me was the closest. I mean, truly the closest, and that was the Eagles and the Rams. And it went all the way back down to the wire, and I really thought that the Rams were going to pull that game out.
When Puka made the catch, when Puka made the back behind the head catch on the sideline, I agree. I was like, man, Stafford's going to do it again.
Yeah.
But hey, the defense held. That's what Philly has done. They've been in close games all year. The defensive held. What really hurt them, the two big injuries on the day was clearly after Hurts had that awkward tackle. He was not the same for the rest of the game. I mean, thank gosh for Saquon Barkley, because they don't win that game without Saquon. And then losing their stud rookie cornerback, Quinyon Mitchell, on the first drive of the game. That really hurt, because it felt like the rest of the game with that snow, those defenders were really playing with their heels back. You were afraid to make a misstep and then let the big play over the top, which is what's funny, because that's what ended up costing the Rams is they tried to play smash mouth football, and you can't do that against that Eagles linebacking core and defensive line, and they didn't find their groove early. I mean, they should have been doing the short, quick passes early in the game, because that's what worked for the Rams.
I used to play wide receiver, if you can believe it or not. I was a wide receiver when I played football. And one of the things that we were always taught was you catch the ball with your hands.
Yep.
You do not let the ball come to your
Agreed.
chest. You catch the ball with your hands.
Grab it out of there.
And I can't tell you how many times I was just watching these games, watching balls bounce off, not only in the Rams game, but in the Ravens game as well. You would see players just let the ball come to the chest. And when you've got a lot of snow and weather, and you're now adding a second variable for a second opportunity to have the ball get past you. So there was some key drops by the Rams that was bothering me. I'm sitting there going, but it's even on the onside kick in the Bills game, it scared the crap out of me because
he let it come into his
he let
body.
it come into his chest instead of like.
You know what the best onside kick recovery I've ever seen, though? I don't remember the game, but it was Cooper Kupp. You know what he did? They tried an onside kick. Cooper Kupp just hit it out of bounds.
Yeah.
It's the best thing you do.
Yeah.
Best thing you do. Absolutely. But that the Eagles-Rams game, it was good. It was exciting. You look, the Eagles didn't make a turnover. Like you said, Hurts had to fumble in the first half, and I also think that's why he got hurt on the play, because I think he was so worried about not fumbling, he wasn't focused on outrunning the defender. But I tell you what, it's a shame that the MVP voting is closed and all that, because, man, if there was another reason to give Saquon the MVP and Zach Bond the Defensive Player of the Year, it was that game. Because they're not winning without those two players right there. I mean,
Saquon was my MVP. Yeah, I agree with you, 100%. And you watch him play, he's determined.
He's
Different cat.
He's determined.
Just a whole different cat. But I said there was 3 quarterbacks this year to me that in their eyes and in their press conferences that were just that I just felt like they were on missions. Okay, and Josh Allen, Hurts, and Goff. Goff is out, but Allen and Hurts are still in it. I still believe in Hurts. I think Hurts.
It's all going to depend on how much is he affected by that awkward tackle and stuff.
Let's get to it. Game picks, baby. Let's do it. Let's start right now with the NFC Championship, brother. So, let's go with Mr. Brady first.
What about me?
Yeah, who you got?
It's very simple. Get the Hogs going. Give me the Commanders to win this game.
Woo!
And I think it's going to simply be they're playing with house money. When you're playing with house money, you push all the chips in, and they dominated Detroit with that mentality. I think they're going to go to Philly and do the same thing, because Philly can snowball in a negative way. After one or two bad things happen, that team starts to snowball the wrong direction. So look for the Commanders to get 3 or 4 fourth down conversions, and then they score. And then if Philly does not immediately answer, that's going to be a snowball effect downward, I think, for Philly. Give me the Commanders to win it by 10 points.
Wow. What you got, brother? That's a bold prediction there.
Yeah, that's about 10. I don't know if I can see it by 10. I can see the direction. I'm going to pick my Eagles because they were my Super Bowl pick for the NFC, so I can't not pick them. I think it's going to be tight. I can see the Commanders winning. Like I said, they are playing great aggressive football. I can't remember if I'm first round, but that's why I thought they'd beat the Lions. You're right. They're playing with house money. They're playing with nothing to lose. I think the advantage Philly has, this is the third meeting. I think this is going to be Vic Fangio's third time looking at Jaden Daniels. The big question is Hurts, because he's got to have a big game. But I think, I really do, for the Eagles to win, I think they've got to get A.J. Brown involved. He hasn't been very involved in these first 2 playoff games. And he's been a little quiet, surprisingly. He hasn't been making the sweet wheel, which when you're winning the playoffs, how can you? But I think the key to that game is they've got to maybe let's less rely on Saquon and let's get that pass game going, because they got in a shootout with the Commanders in that second game. And the only reason they lost, in my opinion, is because they didn't have Hurts. I mean, Hurts went out in the first quarter of the game, and their defense then at the end just couldn't make it up, and Devontae Smith had the drop pass. I mean, they had every opportunity to win that game too. So they can beat this Commander team. They can. Vic Fangio is going to put a great defensive scheme together. He's going to make sure he protects his quarterbacks. Quinyon Mitchell is out. They can win. I would not be shocked. Like, to me, this is a toss-up. This is a toss-up game. It went from if Hurts, we didn't have the question marks on injury, I would be taking Philly all day. But the way the Commanders playing combined with that injury, I think this is a toss-up.
Of all the games I'm most certain of in the playoffs, this is the one I'm most certain of. This is the Eagles. And you can sit there and you can talk about Hurts, not throwing, but that's because look, Barkley is running. You're gonna hand him the ball, and then Gainwell's running well.
Yeah.
And so you are running the football well. It's the same thing right now what the Bills are doing. They are playing smart football. Why would you want to sit there and throw the football all over the field when you've got the running game running? Because between Davis, Cook, and Allen, you're running the football well. And right now between Barkley, Gainwell, and Hurts running the football, you don't have to pass the ball that many times. And especially in these cold weather games, you've got the advantage. Okay? The other thing is this is going to be a game at the line of scrimmage. So who's got the best offensive line between the two teams?
Oh, the Eagles.
Who's got the best defensive line between the two teams?
The Eagles.
The Eagles are going to win this game.
Yeah, but if you were to say that in the previous matchup, wouldn't you have taken Detroit?
No. I
Over the
took Detroit. I
Commanders?
took Detroit over the Commanders, but Detroit's defense is shattered. They've got no defense. I didn't think that Goff would sit there and
Detroit had the better offensive line, but no,
Yeah.
they didn't have the better
They
defense.
didn't have the better defensive line. The Commanders have a better defensive line, a better defensive front as of right now. And if you're talking about look, Detroit's on what, third string players?
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Okay, they're picking up guys off the street to play on their defense
Yeah.
right now. Okay, and so the Commanders are a much more healthier team.
Hot take for this game. Say
Another one? Other than the 10
another
points?
10-point win. We've been waiting on it. This is the week Kellen Moore takes Saquon out of the game.
What do you mean,
We've been
take
talking about, will Kellen Moore run the ball with Saquon? Will he run the ball? And he has all season.
Hey,
Is this the game Kellen Moore goes
the
back to
ultimate
being
revenge. He's like, oh, I'm a Cowboys guy at heart. I just interviewed. Now we're just gonna lose. the
Jerry
game.
done got him.
That-
And he
oh.
Saquon will have 50 yards rushing on the day.
I doubt that seriously. I think they've been staying true to who they are. And like I said, I'm impressed that Kellen Moore has done that, because one of the things I've always worried about was that he passed the ball way too much, but he realizes what he's got in Hurts and what he's got in Barkley, and he's stuck to it this year.
Well, I hope you're right.
And I don't see them veering off. And especially since we're talking about another cold weather game,
Yeah.
it's probably going to be in the snow again. It's going to be a lot better to run the football. And the holes that the offensive line of the Eagles are creating right now, I just think. Plus, I think that the Commanders are going to be facing a different type of pass rush than they were against the Lions. The Lions, nothing. They're going to face a pass
Yeah,
rush.
but you also got to think about it. Jaden Daniels, almost every time they had an unblocked free guy coming, he just made the guy miss. So when you have a quarterback that can do that,
But you're making third stringers miss, or are you making Jalen Carter miss? That's the question.
Yes, that's a whole other.
And I tell you,
thing.
hey, that was a great battle. That defensive line against of LA and the offensive line against Philly, man, Burge going at it was a fun matchup to watch.
I thought it was the best game yesterday. I thought
Yeah.
it was the funnest one to watch. The other thing, but I got to go with the Eagles, man. I can't see to me of all the playoff games, that's been happening. I think this one's most certain. I do see an Eagles going.
All right. So the Bills lost 4 Super Bowls in a row. For the 4th year in a row, they play the Chiefs in the playoffs. Are they exiting for the 4th year in a row against the Chiefs? What say y'all?
Well, I picked the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl in the AFC at the beginning of the year, and it would be hypocritical for me to pick against them. They're playing at home, but I'm rooting for the Bills. I'm going to root for. I have to pick the Chiefs. I'm obligated.
Yep, Super Bowl pick. That's fair.
Okay? But I do want to see the Bills. And plus I think the Bills Eagles would be a much better matchup for the Super Bowl. I do. If you're looking at intangibles, Kelsey's looked good here the last few weeks. That's scary. Worthy's looked really good for the Chiefs. That's scary. Hollywood Brown's back. Damn, Chris Jones. Gosh, he's just so good. I mean, it's just that's first ballot Hall of Famer right there. Because literally, that's the defensive line is Chris Jones.
He is.
And the other thing is a lot of times these games are going to come down to special teams. Okay, it's going to come down to special teams. And the Chiefs' special teams have looked really good. They blocked some field goals here. They've made some great punt coverages and stuff like that. And so a lot of times when you're talking about these types of games, especially against teams that are going to be who know each other the way they know each other, special teams could be the difference in this game, and it could be a special teams play that really shifts the tide in this game. So, but I'm gonna go Chiefs. I want the Bills. What y'all got?
So, when I kind of think about this game, it reminds me in '88, the 49ers won the Super Bowl. In '89, the 49ers won the Super Bowl. In '90, they went to the NFC Championship game and lost to the Giants. And I just have a weird feeling that Buffalo's going to win this game. I think Kansas City on paper, to me, is the better team. I'm
curious, how many times did it take Manning to beat Brady in the playoffs?
What do you mean?
I don't know how many times they played.
Well, they lost, and then I think ultimately he's got more playoff.
He has more playoff wins against Brady.
Does he?
Yes, he does.
It was in the beginning.
But in the beginning, because Brady had the better teams.
Yeah.
But in that you got to realize that from 2006 to 2016, the Patriots could get to a championship or get to a Super Bowl, but they never won that. And then Manning, of course, even in Denver, destroyed him when he was playing with Denver. That Denver offense was massive.
I'm with you. I hope the Bills get. I can't pick against the Chiefs just because it seemed to be the team of damn destiny. It's how can you never seen a team play so bad but play so good and win, and that's just what they do.
They don't beat themselves.
They do not beat themselves.
They play winning football.
I'll be very interested in this game if the Chiefs get the same call after all the media scrutiny this week.
We'll see.
Because that could play a factor, but I just have this weird feeling that we're not going to have a three-peat. That the Bills they're going to win this game.
Right. So I'm not gonna lie. What would be exciting is, as an Eagles fan, one of the best things was when 2017 when they did win the Super Bowl. I remember they won the NFC Championship game, and it was the before they won it was the Patriots and the Jaguars. I was like, well, who would you? I'm like, well, of course I'd rather play the Jaguars, but man, it would just mean so much more if we were able to beat Brady. Especially after we lost him the first time. And that's why I feel this time like, yeah, I want to play. I want Josh Allen because I want somebody other than the Chiefs at this point. I really would if it was anybody. But man, if I could come back and beat Mahomes in the championship, in the Super Bowl after losing to him before, God would make it so good.
He's saying this, right? It's a Super Bowl Sunday. Hollywood Brown gets a 75-yard touchdown.
I know, but
Clint is throwing stuff all around the house.
It'll happen too. It'll happen.
Or there's gonna be a flag thrown because they didn't hit Mahomes, but they thought they hit Mahomes.
I know.
We'll have a whole offseason of Clint. How the NFL's rigged and Philly's never going to win another one.
Hey, I want Eagles Bills Super Bowl, but it's I predict Eagles Chiefs.
Give me a 1991 rematch of the Commanders and the Bills. That's what I want to see.
This is the best Bills team that Josh Allen has had because
There's no noise.
They're so multi-dimensional right now because they can absolutely run the football.
Yep.
They absolutely got good tight ends, so you've got the mid-game, and then you've got some deep threats. By the way, Amari Cooper only had one catch in that game, right?
Yeah.
Because they kept everything up close.
Yeah. And he's still.
What are they going to do? I mean, because that would to me.
Maybe they're saving him.
Maybe that's the surprise plays that you all of a sudden you got Cooper downfield or something like that. It's the best.
This is the one to pull.
Now it's not their best defense, but this is their best overall team, and I think it's their best.
And this is the game to pull out all the stops.
Yes,
this is the game.
You throw everything but the kitchen sink. Brother, that's all we got time for, man. I hope you enjoyed these conference championship games. Until then, we've been the Rant Squad. I'm the Water Dog. This is
Clint Jordan.
and we are out of here.